She didn't knock twice. One soft knock, then silence. When I opened the door, my wife's best friend was standing there, eyes red, hands clenched like she was holding herself together by force. She didn't smile. She didn't apologize for showing up unannounced. She looked straight at me and said, barely above a whisper, "We need to talk. Right now. If we don't, everything you believe about your life is about to collapse." And before I could ask a single question, she stepped inside, bringing with her a truth that would haunt me long after she walked back out. I never imagined she'd be the one standing at my door that night. Of all people, my wife's closest friend. The woman who laughed at our dinner table, who helped pick out birthday gifts, who held my wife's hand at family gatherings. She was safe, familiar, invisible in the way people become when you trust them completely. It was raining outside, the kind of rain that feels heavy, deliberate. She didn't take off her coat. She didn't sit at first. She just stood there, breathing like she'd run a mile to get to me. I asked if something was wrong with my wife. That's when her eyes filled again, and she shook her head slowly, like she was already mourning something. "I can't carry this anymore," she said. "I've tried. God knows I've tried." I told her to sit. She didn't. She said if she sat down, she might not be able to say it. That scared me more than anything, because people only talk like that when they're about to ruin lives, including their own. She finally looked at me, really looked at me, and said my name in a way that felt too intimate for someone who wasn't my wife. Then she said, "I'm in love with you." The room went quiet in that strange, hollow way it does when your brain refuses to accept what it just heard. I laughed once, out of pure disbelief, then immediately felt sick for laughing. Because she wasn't joking, her face was breaking right in front of me. She rushed to explain, words tumbling over each other. She said it wasn't planned, that it started years ago, before I even noticed her as anything more than my wife's friend. She said she fought it every day, that she avoided being alone with me, avoided looking at me for too long, avoided letting herself imagine a life she knew she could never have. "I hate myself for it," she said. "I hate that I feel this way, but it's real, and it's been real for a long time." I stood there frozen, my mind screaming that this was wrong, that this conversation should not be happening in my living room. I told her she shouldn't have come. I told her she was confused. She nodded like she'd already said those things to herself 1,000 times. "I didn't come here to steal you," she said quickly. "I swear I came here because there's more you don't know, and if I walk away again, you'll be blindsided." That's when my stomach dropped. She told me my wife was planning to leave, that she'd been planning it quietly, carefully, for months. She had an apartment lined up, papers already drafted, conversations rehearsed in her head, but never spoken out loud. My wife didn't want to fight. She didn't want drama. She wanted a clean exit. She was going to tell you after her sister's wedding, her friend said. She didn't want to ruin the timing. I felt like the floor shifted under me. I asked why she was telling me this now. Why betray her best friend like this? She swallowed hard. "Because loving you and loving her tore me in half, and I can't keep choosing silence." She admitted that knowing my marriage was already cracking had pushed her over the edge, not because she saw an opening, but because she realized everyone was lying. My wife was lying to me. She was lying to herself, and I was living inside a future I didn't even know was ending. She finally sat down then, like her legs had given up. She told me about the nights she went home and cried after spending time with us, about how she smiled in photos knowing she was standing between two people whose lives were quietly unraveling, about how every time my wife complained about our distance, she felt both guilty and helpless. "I never crossed a line," she said firmly. "I never would. Coming here, this is the worst thing I've ever done, and I'll live with it forever." I asked her why confess her feelings at all. Why not just warn me about the divorce and leave it at that? She looked at me for a long time before answering. "Because if I didn't say it now, I'd always wonder who I might have been if I'd told the truth once in my life. Not to you, to myself." That hurt more than the confession. She stood up, wiping her face, suddenly composed in a way that felt rehearsed. She said she would step back, completely. That after tonight, she would no longer be part of our lives, that she would never contact me again unless I reached out first, and even then, only if I was single, only if enough time had passed to make it clean. I don't want to be a shadow, she said. I don't want to be the reason two people break. At the door, she paused. Her hand hovered over the handle like she wanted to say something else but knew better. Then she said, "Whatever happens next, I hope you know you were loved honestly, even when it was painful." And then she was gone. The rain swallowed her footsteps. The house felt impossibly empty. Later that night, my wife came home and kissed me on the cheek like nothing had changed. She asked what I wanted for dinner. I looked at her and saw a stranger carrying a secret timeline I'd never been invited into. I didn't confront her. Not that night. I just lay awake, staring at the ceiling, realizing how close love and loss sit next to each other, how loyalty can coexist with betrayal, how sometimes the truth doesn't arrive gently, it arrives pounding on your door, demanding to be heard. Some love stories don't begin with sparks, some end with honesty, and some leave you standing alone, trying to decide which truth hurts less, the one you were told, or the ones you lived without knowing. Some doors don't close quietly. They leave echoes behind, questions you never planned to ask, truths you can't unhear, and choices that don't come with clean answers. That night taught me something I still carry. Love doesn't always betray loudly. Sometimes it betrays softly, through silence, through waiting too long, through saying the truth only when it's already too late. If this story made you pause, if it made you think about the secrets people carry and the words they're afraid to say, then you're not alone. Life is full of moments like this, unseen, unspoken, and powerful enough to change everything. If you felt this story, don't forget to like it, share it with someone who understands, and leave a comment below. I read every single one, and if you want more real, emotional stories that stay with you long after they end, make sure you subscribe, because some stories don't just entertain. They remind us we're human.